There is 5 foods that you absolutely should not be breaking your fast with. So that's what I'm going to tell you about today. I'm going to give you the finite details. And before I get into those 5 foods though, I just want to be clear about what a break fast meal is, because it's not really a meal. It's more of kind of like a snack. It's just a little bit of something to kind of wake up your digestive system and get everything going again. And what you choose to break your fast with can actually have a very big influence on how your insulin levels are and how you feel when you actually go to have your first meal, instead of having your first meal as your break fast and it just containing whatever you choose in it. So we're going to dive straight into this. No intro today. Number 1 is going to be cruciferous vegetables. Now that may sound a little odd to some people because we typically consider veggies as healthy, and that'd be a great thing to break a fast with, right? Well, that's wrong. And the reason for that is because they contain something called raffinose. Now, raffinose is the type of sugar that's in most plants, specifically cruciferous vegetables. But what this stuff does is it ferments in your gut, and it's going to produce a lot of methane, CO2, and hydrogen. All that gas is going to make you super uncomfortable, and at the end of a fast, your gut mucosal layer has already been broken down. So that raffinose is going to be very irritating to your gut, which can lead to inflammation, and inflammation can lead to a whole slew of other problems. Not to mention, veggies can be viewed as a lot of roughage, insoluble fiber. That's going to be really hard on a gut that's already been broken down. Your villi, which are small little hair-like structures that line your gut, which increases the gut surface area so that you can absorb more. At this point, they're going to be smaller and a lot more sensitive. So consuming a lot of insoluble fiber from veggies is going to be like sticking a wire brush and driving it through them and breaking them even more. Number 2 is going to be anything that has lactose. So we're talking no milk, no heavy whipping cream, butter, most cheeses. And I'm sorry for all you cheese lovers out there, but hey, it's just your break fast. You have your break fast, wait about 45 minutes to an hour later, and you can have your cheese with your first actual meal. The reason for this is, as I mentioned just a while ago, at the end of a fast, your gut mucosal layer has already been broken down. So the lactose and the acid from these foods is what's going to further irritate your gut if you choose these foods as a break fast. Number 3 is going to be high glycemic foods. Now listen closely, because what I'm going to start off with is going to come back around and wrap all this together. So the body is good at maintaining electrolyte balance within the cell, but when you're fasting, you usually don't have many electrolytes coming in. So what's going to begin to happen is the cells are going to start pulling electrolytes from the bloodstream into them. And that's interesting. You do have electrolytes that are only present in the bloodstream, but you also have intracellular electrolytes. They're 2 different things, and the body tries to keep those in balance. So in turn, the electrolytes in your bloodstream go down, so you end up with high levels of electrolytes in your cells and low levels of electrolytes within your bloodstream. So when you eat, you spike your insulin. Insulin opens up the cell doorway. So guess what happens here? By the laws of osmolarity, water, nutrients, and everything is going to flow to where there is more or less of something. So you have this huge infusion of everything you just ate coming into your cells. Imagine you have 2 water bottles. Let's use these remotes as an example. Let's say these are water bottles. This one is filled with just water, and let's say this one is filled with water and salt. If you were able to magically connect these together, the one with water would flow into the one with water and salt, leaving this one drained and this one with all the water in it. That's happening inside of your cells. This is called refeeding syndrome by the scientific community. This can make you feel lethargic, and it can damage the membrane of the cell due to the rapid translocation of those ions and mess stuff up. This generally happens with fasts that are over 24 hours, but it does still happen with intermittent fasting, just to a lesser degree, but it's still not a good thing to have happen. This is where the high glycemic load foods come in. When you consume those, they're going to stimulate more insulin than fat and protein do. So now you have more insulin, which means the cells are going to be opened up even wider, which is going to make this effect even worse. You're going to feel even more lethargic, feeling like crap, and you're going to possibly have even more damage to the membranes of your cells. So there's two things that you can do to combat this. And the first thing is make sure at your break fast that you have 25 carbs or less. Now if you're keto, you shouldn't have to worry about that. The second thing you can do is before you break your fast, about 30 to 40 minutes, have about 1/8 to 1/4 a teaspoon of some good high quality mineral salt. That way it's getting the electrolytes in your bloodstream a little more in balance with the electrolytes in your cells so that you don't have this happen when you go and break your fast. Moving on to number 4, and number 4 is going to be nuts, and more specifically almonds and cashews. And I'll get to why here in just a second. But nuts in general are mechanically hard to digest. You don't want rough, tough nuts going in your gut and messing it up, because as I've done mentioned twice, your gut mucosal layer after a fast is broken down. So you don't want those going in there and possibly causing some damage. The reason I mentioned almonds and cashews is because those are going to be the highest in phytic acid and oxalates. They are in other nuts too, but they're the highest in these. What these do is they chelate minerals. They bind up minerals so that you can't absorb them. Now this is going to be a big problem at the end of a fast because you're already most likely going to be low on minerals. Magnesium is going to be the biggest concern because it's most likely going to be the mineral that you're the lowest on at the end of a fast. And it's so important for many different things in the body, like proper ATP production, which is essential for energy. And it's responsible for over 400 different enzymatic processes within the body. You don't want anything binding up your minerals and rendering them completely useless at the end of a fast. Honestly, just keep it simple and have some lean protein. That's the best thing that you can eat. Food number 5 is going to be saturated fats. Now, due to the way that the hydrogen bonds are in saturated fats, it makes them very hard to break down and digest. If you have saturated fats when you break your fast, you're looking at a lot of bloating and gas and all kinds of things that are just going to make you really uncomfortable. But if you do decide to have some or want some, going with avocado oil or olive oil is going to be better because they're a lot easier to break down. Now I know that these are a lot of foods that all of us love and would love to break a fast with, because usually when you're breaking a fast, a lot of times you're ready, you're hungry, and you're ready to eat. But I promise you, if you just keep it simple and go with lean protein and keep these out of the equation till you have your actual first meal, you're going to feel a lot better and have a lot less problems in the end. But guys, keep it keto, keep it healthy, and I'll see y'all next week.